pulled some cards already and took some notes. Also, I guess for the sake of like continuity, I'm doing two different streams at once. I'm recording this vocally, and also I'm on YouTube Live. So yeah, um, I took notes, and so we're gonna get right into this. And I categorize this by elements. So instead of like Aries, Leo, Taurus, all that, I'm just gonna do elementals. So fire, earth, air, and water. So, and also take this with a grain of salt, I guess, because you should know your life better than I do, and you are meant to have full control over your own life. Excuse me. So once again, without further ado, here we go. I'm gonna just move this though. All right. I'm kind of nervous. I'm not gonna lie. But all right. So starting with fire signs or Aries, Leo, Sag, we have the Hierophant. That was the first card that was pulled, and I kind of just sat with it for a while, and I was going through the different energies of the Hierophant, which the Hierophant, if not aware of tarot, is about structure. It's about discipline. It is also about authority, specifically religious or spiritual authority. But um, the pertinent message, the relevant message for you is about learning your lessons and finding structure. Now, I did pull more cards, and then we had the Magician and the High Priestess, and essentially, there's this energy of having learned of your own power, your own abilities, and because of that, also rediscovering how you express yourself and how you show up in the world. The High Priestess is specifically about inner knowledge, inner wisdom. Um, she kind of acts as a gateway between the other side and this realm. And I wrote down rediscovering self and self expression, and I feel like that's a relatively big thing in correlation with the Magician because you understand more what you're capable of, what you can do, and because of that, you are choosing to show up differently than you have before. And I'm going to pull some other cards. I have my Moonology deck, so I'm going to pull some from there. And let's see what comes up. There's something about the self. I mean, Aries is a fire sign, and Aries talks about the self, self-identity, self-personality, etc., etc. And the card that we have coming out is the South Node. Don't let your past hold you back. So, once again, you're rediscovering who you are and like what you're capable of, and because of that, you are choosing differently, or hopefully choosing differently, moving forward into July. And taking a peek at the top of the deck, we have prosperity lies ahead. So I'm going to speak on something real quick. Money is at the root of everything in our reality. Unfortunately, it drives a lot of things. And I personally, as the intuitive that I am, see that that might be changing relatively soon. It already has been changing, but probably more drastically within the next few years. And that being said, at this current moment in time, money is still at the root of everything. And when it comes to power, it is important to recognize that money is a sort of power. Like if you have enough money and you wield it in a certain way, you will be perceived as powerful. Now, whether or not you want to adhere to that is your own thing. And I feel like some of you have this sort of energy, this sort of spirit where you don't give a fuck what people have monetarily or anything like that. You just see a person for what they are, which is a great trait because a lot of people kind of just see money and status and clothes as a sort of, once again, a power. Like, and it really doesn't need to be that way, but most of us see it that way. And I guess with the Taurus energy, there is the message of allowing yourself to slow down when necessary. We have a new start is coming. Yeah, I mean, obviously July is coming, so that's a thing. But more generally, or less generally, I do see in terms of money, there's a new start. Maybe you're starting a new job, you are starting a business, etc., etc. And some of you may have been feeling the urge to step outside of your comfort zone, and I want to like urge you to not be so hard on yourself. I wrote a Patreon post about this the other day. Don't be so hard on yourself if you find yourself not being able to live up to the expectations that you've set for yourself. Like I said, be patient. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with the world around you, because it's not super easy to exist as a human. It's simple, like it can be simple, but it's not really easy 100% of the time. So yeah. Um, and then I guess one last thing is learn to trust more in the process. Maybe this is one of the lessons you've been learning, and I know it can be difficult, but when I say that, I more so mean that you should be able to trust in the notion that if you ask for something or if you are wanting something and you put in the work, you can have it. You know what I mean? And maybe it's not going to happen exactly the way you want, but it definitely can happen. Um, Fire signs, thank you for being here. Gonna like move forward. Also, I'm gonna like actually, 'cause this is not something that I usually do. I'm gonna do it this time, for timestamp sake. Um, 1 second. Once again, thank you for being here. If you are intending on watching until the end. Okay, awesome. Moving on. Earth signs. Um, Hello. The first card that we had for you guys is the Emperor, and I love that the first three elements immediately we got into the major arcana. And if you're not familiar with tarot, uh, the major arcana is basically meant to be like bigger life events. Like when you pull a major arcana card, it's supposed to be something that you pay attention to. And the Emperor is actually Aries energy, and it's about the self, but it's also about control, authority, similar to the Hierophant, but in a more self-driven way, in a more fiery sort of way. And it's actually funny now. I'm really just noticing this, but for fire signs we pulled the Hierophant, and then for you guys we pulled the Emperor, and it's kind of like reverse because the Emperor represents Aries, and then the Hierophant represents Taurus. Anyways, um, yeah, the Emperor is about control. It's about uh, I don't want to say dictatorship, but dictatorship, authority, um, self control, etc., etc. And one thing that I wrote down is putting yourself first. Uh, Earth signs, you probably have been finding yourself in lots of situations or a few situations where you were not prioritizing your own needs. And for whatever reasons, that's what was going on. And you're realizing, you're understanding that you probably should not do that so much. And obviously, everything is easier said than done. I wrote a post about this also. Check out the link below if you want to check out my Patreon and everything. Um, but learning to put yourself first in a way that is not detrimental to those around you can be a game changer. Because I feel like a lot of the times when we say put ourselves first, some may think, oh, well, that means we're being selfish or greedy or whatever. And maybe even so, sure. But like, um, it's the way of the world. And one of the four agreements, I've been writing about this, I've been talking about this on my Patreon. Um, Nothing is personal. Like everyone is just living out their own reality. Everyone is just living their own life. And even if someone directly attacks you, it is not a personal attack. Like even if it was a personal attack, it's not a personal attack because once again, everyone is just living their own life. Everyone is just doing what they feel that they need to do to have their own experience. You know what I mean? And so keep that in mind as you navigate. I've been telling a few people in person, like, Don't take it personal. Nothing's personal. Like, it's never that deep. And obviously, we want to get into that mode and we want to take it personal, but it's never personal, no matter what someone does to you, you know. And that doesn't mean you should take bullshit. It doesn't mean you should take disrespect, but it's not personal. Another thing, earth signs, you might want to get out into nature more. You might have been feeling the urge and ignoring said urge, and you can do whatever you want to do, but it would definitely be very helpful for you to get out into nature more. Um, Not just because you're earth signs, but generally. I mean, honestly, this goes for everybody who's watching. But yeah, definitely would benefit you to get out into nature more. Um, Before I get into the last thing, oh, I love that actually. I'm gonna pull some. Oh, you can't see. Sorry about the angle. We don't need to. It's whatever. Like, it's a work in progress. We have balance, spirituality, and practicality. Full moon in Pisces. So there's something about a Pisces, maybe, but like the bigger message is about balance and making sure that the things that you learn esoterically are applied to your life. Because it's not. Well, I mean, 11:11 on the clock, by the way. It's not enough necessarily to know information if it doesn't help you in some way. Like, at the least, you should be imparting that wisdom onto others, you know? I made a TikTok video about that the other day, like, or it was a reading, but whatever. I was like, um, if you can't do it yourself, you should be teaching, you know? If you actually genuinely care to help others, but whatever. Um, One second. I guess I should be doing more notes and stuff. Okay. Um, Organization. Not there yet, but we're getting there. That might be a thing too for you. You may have been getting more organized, and awesome. That's great. If that's something you've been wanting to do, baby steps are okay. Maybe get yourself a journal and like start there. I don't know. You should know your life better than I do. And then the last thing that I said I was gonna pull more cards, but I guess just okay. Once again, we have "Don't Let Your Past Hold You Back" as I split the deck. Um, I feel like some of you have a tendency of letting your ego get the best of you. And when I say that, I mean like the taking things personal, like understanding that the things that other people do to you or around you or with you is rarely about you. And I would even go so far to say never about you. It's all about the way that they see the world and the way that they choose to navigate. You know, doesn't mean that you should take it, but it it's a big perspective to hold. Um, and that was the last thing I wrote, tending to your ego. Um, I wrote in my own journal, and I'm gonna get really candid, I guess. It's not super candid, but whatever. Um, that while I do appreciate the selfless act of helping others and like imparting my wisdom onto others, I do appreciate the notifications that I get when people interact with my videos. You know, it's just a simple fact that I had to like reconcile for a moment. 13:33 on the clock as I say that. And I feel like, and this is just my personal belief, but I do believe strongly that in order to get to where you want to go, be the person you want to be, you do have to be honest with yourself. Um, it's okay to be delusional with others. It's okay to like, whatever, but with yourself, you at least need to be able to check in every once in a while and be like, okay, here's what I'm not doing. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what needs to happen, etc., etc. Um, and then, sure, continue being delusional with the world, whatever. But if you can't be honest with yourself, how can you be honest with everyone else? And then you're going to end up living some life where you think that you're one thing, but like really you're not. And like, that's a whole thing in itself. But, anyways, back to the Emperor. Um, I do feel, I get the picture, I get the sense that you are really, really, really similar to fire signs. You are in a period of rediscovery, reconfiguration, if you will, where your understanding of the world is very different from the way it used to be. So, because of that, you are changing the way that you move throughout the world. Um, okay, sorry, I was looking at a text. Um, what else for Earth signs? I'm gonna pull some more cards for you guys. Earth signs, what's up? What's up with you guys? Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. What's up for you in terms of? Oh, I love that. Okay. Oh wow, I love that. Okay, so at the top of the deck we have faith in your dreams, and then we have believe in the impossible. Adjustments are required, and the answers you need are coming. There's a lot of blue happening in this spread, so there might be a thing about your communication style, and yeah, I feel like there's a big change in your social environment. Like you are contemplating getting new friends, or like moving away from home, or et cetera, et cetera. Maybe you've been thinking about like changing up your vocabulary 555 as I say that. Um, like whatever it is, like there's change happening, and like I said before, like believe in the process, trust in the process that like you can get to where you need to be as long as you put in the work, and so it is. Thank you for being here once again. I'm just gonna say that. There's nobody here live, but for anybody watching in the future, much love to you. And we're gonna move into air signs next, which I actually really enjoyed the energy for you guys. Like I'm a Gemini sun with a Libra ascendant, so like you know, love that. Um, okay, air signs. Um, the first card that we pulled was the Magician, and the obvious is that you are manifesting your desires and wishes. Very obvious, right? Um, but specifically for a lot of you, this is around creativity and like your feminine energy. And when I say feminine energy, for clarification, that falls under or falls into cre- creativity. Feminine energy is fluidity, creativity, um, things like that. I mean, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank, but yeah, there's like a renewed focus on your creative abilities. Maybe you're a writer, maybe you're a painter, whatever you do creatively, you're falling back into that, and I love that for you. We have the King of Pentacles, technically the Father of Pentacles, because I was using the Wild Unknown Tarot, and also the Two of Swords and the Empress. So like, there's this energy of like staying grounded within your creativity. Um, Feminine energy is a very once again fluid energy, and by default that means that for ultimate success sometimes you do need a masculine structure, if you will, something to hold that fluid in. Like think of a cup and water. Like the water is its own thing, sure, but you can't hold it in one place if you don't have something to, you know what I mean? Like that's where the cup comes in. And maybe that means like getting a job in your chosen field, or finding someone to collaborate with to keep you on your feet, or yeah, keep you on your feet and whatever. Um, yeah, and then the Two of Swords is a card that talks about, on the positive side, it talks about focus and determination, but on the negative side, it talks about confusion and lack of focus, lack of clarity. I'm gonna pull some more cards for you guys. Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Also, once again, thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. I hope that this is helpful to whoever is here. Ugh. As a Gemini with a Libra ascendant, I'm just gonna say it. You could stand a step outside of your comfort zone a little bit. Some of you more than others, but either way, you could definitely do that. And it might be around your money, your finances, whatever. Um, we have step outside of your comfort zone. Prosperity lies ahead. A time to give rather than take. And this card, Has all of the cards have multiple messages. I'm gonna actually read directly from here. I know what I want to say, but I'm gonna read from here anyway. New Moon in Virgo. New Moon in Virgo. Okay. When this card comes up, it's time for you to take stock of your situation. Where are you and where do you want to go? The new moon energy of this card suggests a restart, and the Virgo energy, sorry, I'm not used to reading on camera, and the Virgo energy suggests that you make a restart. Make that restart a clever one. Fucking Jesus. Excuse my language. A clever one that's simple and well organized. Virgo also has a strong health aspect to it. So if you've been unwell, this card suggests that your health is on the up. Clean eating, alternative therapies should be added or could be added into your routine now. However you've been feeling, sorry. If a situation is blocked at the moment, it could be that you're overanalyzing things or being too critical. It's time to ask less of what someone else can do for you and to think more about what you can do for others. Um, and then I guess the simple way to put this is like recommitting to healthy morning and evening routines. And then the additional meanings are gradual improvements are coming. Pay attention to detail if you want success, but don't get overly obsessive with the details. Be of service to others, and love/money will follow. And then if you're thinking about a specific person, know that they are pretty reliable. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, basically it was the part about being more wise in your movements and like being more planned out. Um, because then we also have Taurus energy and Gemini energy here. Also Cancer energy. Shout out to you guys because it's Cancer season now. Um, yeah. So air signs, you may not want to hear this, but now might be a good time to think more about others rather than yourself. Um, Easier said than done, especially if you've already been in the mode of self focus, which it shouldn't be a bad thing to be selfish because you are self, so why not be selfish? Um, that wasn't a joke, but I feel like that could be interpreted as a joke. If you laugh, you're welcome. Um, mm, I do want to speak on something for a second. I've been reading a lot lately, and I have been sharing what I've learned from these books. Um, but in relation to stepping outside of your comfort zone, uh, I think some of us can recognize very clearly that this reality that we find ourselves in is, how do I say this? One of the books that I read recently, and I still want to write a thing on it. I have written it and it's kind of still in my drafts, but The Game of Life and How to Play It. It's a very spiritual based book. It was written in 1925. If you follow me on TikTok, you may have been hearing me talk about it. And it was a really good read. I actually, in this moment, I want to reread it at some point or re listen to it because I listened to it. Anyways, um, it talks a lot about like karma and reciprocation, spirituality, once again. And once you get to a certain level of awareness, you recognize that some of the elements of this reality are just not really worth it, or at least not to you as an individual. And that's perfectly fine. Um, but for the sake of like financial success and like monetary gain and general success, you do have to put yourself out there and do things that make you not super comfortable. I actually wrote about this recently on my Patreon, I think. Yeah. Um, and how I personally would love to believe that you don't necessarily have to be uncomfortable to grow and to expand. But as optimistic as I am in my thinking, I've come to the conclusion that this is just the case. Like sometimes you are just going to be uncomfortable. Um, and sometimes it's for the good. Um, there's a Paramore song that's been stuck in my head until I did a video on it. Miracle by Paramore. And there's this one line specifically I'm going to sing, I guess. We've learned to run from anything uncomfortable. We've tied our pain below, and no one ever has to know that inside we're broken. I try to patch things up and what is it? Count these tears and count my or kill these fears. But have I told you? Have I? And the next part isn't really important, but I won't let you give up on a miracle when it might save you. It's not faith if you use your eyes. That part was also stuck in my head. Um, and whether or not you believe in like major religion, whatever your personal preference is, um, the idea of faith is that you walk blindly. You don't necessarily think about all the details. You just go for it when it feels right. And it's kind of what this card talks about. I'm going to read from this card, actually. I'm glad that I kept on to this book because there was a moment where I was like, I don't really need this book. And I don't need it, but it is nice to reference it sometimes. What do you need to release? Also, is another question I'm going to ask because I'm like flipping through. What is it that you need to let go of, air signs? Obviously, you should know your life better than I do, so you can think about that on your own. What is it? Is it the last one? Don't tell me it's the last card. Okay. It is the last card of the book. That's hilarious. There's a strong feeling when you get this card that it's time to leave the past behind somehow because you're headed in the right direction. If you want to be happy and fulfilled, you need to get going towards doing the things that scare you within reason. This card is all about living your life purpose, which is possibly what you've asked about. It's urging you to dare. It's urging you to dare to do something different with your life and your direction, to take action. So, are you willing to follow through and lead the life you incarnated to live? If you finally find the courage to make the leap, there's a good chance you'll come to yourself, or you'll come to ask yourself, why did I wait so long? Additional meanings for this card. You're headed for something which feels like destiny. You need to face the fear and get over it. Time to stop obsessing about someone or something. Stand on your own 2 feet, and you've got this. I love that. Um, Now, once again, I'm going to go back to what I said before. Like, once you get to a certain level of awareness, you recognize that, like, some of this shit is just really not necessary. Um, at least not for yourself as an individual. Like, when it comes to money and relationships and stuff. Like, thank you for being here. And have a good one. I love you. Moving on to water signs. It's funny because all of the other elements were starting off with major arcana. And actually, yeah, a lot of them were major arcana and court cards, which was really interesting. But then with the water signs, and I say it's interesting because it's Cancer season, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. It was just kind of regular cards at first. Seven of Wands, Two of Swords, the Nine of Swords was also a card, and then the World card, which is a major arcana. And the messages here, if I could skim through real quick, that's whatever. Determination and renewed focus, passion, unnecessary worry and stress. So some of you have been very hyper focused on the way that you show up in the world, right? And it's not. I don't want to say it's super necessary, but to some extent, excuse me, it is unnecessary because who fucking cares? Um, Maybe you do care, maybe other people do care, but it doesn't matter because it's your life. You know what I mean? And you shouldn't spend too much time worrying about how other people perceive you because as long as you know who you are and what you're doing in the world, it doesn't fucking matter. You know what I mean? But obviously that's easier said than done, and you have to believe that for yourself. So you know. The Seven of Wands is a card about persistence, perseverance, not giving up, right? And paired with the Two of Swords, I feel like a big thing for you, water signs, is your focus. I wrote down renewed focus. That was one of the things. Oh, and then as I'm like picking up the deck, we have faith in your dreams, waxing crescent moon. Yeah, like I can see that you have this internal level of passion and ambition and drive, but you allow the external voices of those around you to influence you negatively. And I mean, to put it plainly, like that you just shouldn't do that. Like you shouldn't allow that to happen. Once again, easier said than done. I wrote a post about that on Patreon the other day. If you want to check that out, you can go to the description. Um, but like, you shouldn't care so much about what other people have to say about your life. Like, it's cool to sometimes take criticism, sure, but it's your life at the end of the day. At the end of your life, it's your life. And the world card specifically talks about peace, right? And then we have the Nine of Swords, which is kind of literally the opposite. Nine of Swords is about stress, anxiety, staying up all night, worrying, that sort of energy. Um, and maybe you're worried about your creative passions, your work, whatever it is that you do. And once again, it's unnecessary for the most part. Like you don't need to stress so much about it. Like it's cool to think about it once in a while, like objectively, and be like, oh yeah, like here's this and this and that. But to spend hours on end thinking about it, like no, you have to find a way to stop that. And once again, easier said than done. I'm not here to tell you, oh, it's just that easy, like whatever. No, because it's not. It's usually easier said than motherfucking done. you know. So one thing I could recommend is setting the intention out loud or in your head, preferably out loud, maybe even write it down, to get rid of that anxiety and to replace it with something more productive. Um, do with that what you will. I guess I can share this with you. One thing that I've been doing, one thing I've been focused on is clarity, strength, and focus. And I wrote it down and I've been carrying it around, et cetera, et cetera. Um, and whatever it is that you personally want for your life, you should write it down and like carry it around in your pocket. You don't have to do that, but I think that would be a great thing for you to do. Um, Water signs are typically stereotyped as being like overly emotional, and I'm not going to speak on that, but like I mentioned before, nothing's personal, and you should aim to not take anything personal. I'm not necessarily saying that you should take disrespect, but it's never personal, ever, ever. You know. So there's that on that. Um, I'm feeling like this one might be a little bit shorter than the other ones, and I feel weird about that because it's Cancer season. But um, yeah, I mean, biggest message here is like stop worrying so much because obviously I don't know you personally, but from what I'm feeling, what I'm getting is that like it's this sort of energy of like you have everything you need, everything's set up perfectly or seemingly perfectly, and instead of embracing that and understanding that, you are spending countless time 33 on the clock as I say that. Countless time stressing about what ifs and shoulda, coulda, woulda. Me personally, I do not like shoulda, coulda, woulda. Like anytime I ever say that to myself, I have to like stop myself and be like, no, shoulda, coulda, woulda. It does not matter. We are living with no regrets, and I would urge you to like adopt that mindset as well. Like, okay, you didn't talk to that guy you wanted to talk to. Okay, you didn't take that job opportunity when you had the chance. So fucking what? It's no longer there. You're now in the present. That is in the past. And all you can do is look forward. You know what I mean? So, hope this helps. And stay tuned for a surprise. I think it just. Okay. So, if you're still watching, thank you. This is for the skeptics, those who don't really believe in all this stuff. And if you watched all the way through, that says something about you more than it says about like this material. You know, um, the tarot cards that we pulled for you was Judgment, the High Priestess, the Wheel of Fortune, and altogether I wrote New Understanding. That was like the conclusion of these cards. Um, you have sort of opened your eyes, I guess you could say, to looking at the world differently, and that's awesome. uh, Try to maintain a sense of groundedness. Um, I used to be an atheist. I don't really share this too often, but I used to be an atheist slash anti-theist. Like I used to vehemently despise organized religion. So part of me still does, but I've learned to appreciate it for what it is. It's whatever. Um, but I also strongly believe that like after we die, nothing happens. There's no higher power. Magic isn't real, etc., etc. And over the years, I've changed my perspective on that. And for some of you, you've definitely changed your viewpoint on that um, a little bit. And my advice for you guys is to exercise more and tend to your emotional needs. Drink more water, um, and generally understand that the world operates on belief. Like you see what you want to see. Like literally, like whatever it is that you believe, like foundationally, is what will show up in your reality. Um, and this is why a lot of people go crazy, quote unquote, when they search for like objective truth, because there is no real objective truth. Like maybe there is, but there really isn't. Um, According to humans, at least, because we all have our own perspectives and we all see the world differently. And to some extent, it's all valid because once again, uh, I guess you could call it confirmation bias, but whatever you want to call it, it is what it is. Um, like if you believe that there's no such thing as magic and that the world is a boring place, then that's what you'll see. If you believe the opposite, that the world is magical and like everything's like wonderful, then that's what you will fucking see. you know? Um, I like that the High Priestess came out. Um, because the High Priestess is about inner knowledge, inner wisdom. She knows a lot. She is like basically a bridge from this world to the next. Um, and so she knows a lot, right? With the Wheel of Fortune in conjunction, your your own inner wisdom is changing. Like the things that you have foundationally believed are changing drastically. Once again, drink more water, exercise, tend to your body, and I hope that this was helpful. And if it wasn't, then I don't know why you watched all of this. I'm joking. This should have been helpful. But yeah, thanks for watching. Check out the links down below, and